Hello and welcome to Matt and Mike Pull Focus. I'm Mike.
And I'm not.
And today we're going to be going from one David Fincher film to another and speaking about The Social Network, released in 2010. On a quick summary, the film is about how Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook, but on a deeper level it shows how he destroyed his friendships along the way to get there and the origin of his ruthless desire to reach the top. So, Matt, this is one of my choices, and I know you had Alien 3 as your Fincher, but I would say that probably Social Network is probably my favourite David Fincher film. Do you think that's a controversial opinion?
No, I absolutely love this film as well. It's definitely, it's probably in my top... definitely in my top 20 films of all time.
I thought you could say top 20 Fincher. I was like, that's a big list. Yeah,
but I thought it was also great that we jumped from Alien to the Alien 3 to this, because then it's like, you know, we're showing that he did have a successful career in the end and made movies that are extremely critically popular.
Yeah, because a lot of people didn't think he was going to be able to do it. I think when it first came out, they were all thinking that, oh, that's the David Fincher guy who's just done Seven, he's done The Game, he's done Fight Club, you know, the really gritty, lowbrow kind of stuff. And I think, yeah, he did like Curious Case of Benjamin Button around like 2007, 2008. And
yeah, I don't know which, like Zodiac was first, I think, before Benjamin Button, but that was a bomb, I found out recently, and it's a shame because I think that's a really great film.
Zodiac.
I just rewatched it, just rewatched it like last month, and it was the second time I'd ever seen it. I absolutely loved it, and it was sad to read that it was a critical, a financial bomb. I think it was critically fairly well received, but didn't make any money, and it's a great film.
I brought all of my friends to watch Zodiac with me on my 19th birthday because it came out like on my birthday. And,
Party!
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, it's the new Fincher film. He's the guy who did Seven and Fight Club, and they were like, oh yeah, okay, fair enough. It's your birthday. You do what you want. But
let's go and see a melancholy 3-hour dirge of a movie
of people just getting killed and no one getting caught. Yeah. So like at the end of it, when I was like, oh, what a fantastically made film, like thinking with my like. My film reviewer eye, everyone else was like, that was pretty shit. They didn't even catch him. I was like, that's not the point. It was really good all the way. Anyway.
Yeah, that's it. I want to be able to look him in the eye, Jesus Christ. I found out recently, I had a little bit of luck. I found out that there was actual work print of Alien 3 available. And I got super, super excited because as all of our listeners will know, on the previous podcast, we talked at length about Alien 3 and the making of and the production troubles.
Yeah.
There was a famously disgusting 3.5-hour cut that was made to show to the producers on Return to LA.
Yeah.
I was super excited because I thought this work print would be that. Unfortunately, I downloaded it and found out it's basically a very, very slightly extended, shitty VHS copy of the assembly cut. There is just a couple of different camera angles, a couple of different line deliveries, but there's literally nothing more than that that's worth seeing. For me, as a super fan, it's always interesting to see a work print because there's things that are just minutely different that any other viewer wouldn't give a shit about. But to me, it's quite exciting. So it was marginally exciting for me.
Glad to hear.
Thank you.
But anyway, on to The Social Network, which is what we're supposed to be talking about.
So anyway, Alien 3. Let's
we're not doing it again, Matt. We're not doing it again. You've had your time.
Oh, you're no fun.
So I consider this to be one of the probably the most important film of the last 10 years in terms of what it's meant for our generation. It's like arguably the film is centered around the biggest invention of the last decade and the one that's like changed the look of our current Western world, I'd say.
And defined a presidency as well in a lot of ways. I mean, the social networking in general, not Facebook specifically, but, you know, obviously Twitter and other platforms have basically made Donald Trump's career.
Some say. But yeah, I definitely would say that like we're a more connected world now because of what Mark Zuckerberg did, but like finding out the background, the minutiae of it, and finding out, well, I know it's disputed and it's all supposedly from Eduardo Saverin's point of view, this film. It's like adapted from his memoir and his retelling of it. And Mark Zuckerberg has come out saying that it didn't happen like that. I'm not that much of a dick, when he's, over the past 10 years, he's not made himself look any better. He's made himself look like a bit of an alien. Yeah,
that's the thing. Is like when this came out, it felt really punk, you know, in the way that it was like, it was, you know, something that our generation kind of defined, you know, like something that we grew with, literally. It was something that wasn't there one minute and then was there the next, and completely sort of changed the way we communicate. And
we were there for the ground floor, weren't we? We were there for it kind of being launched. Do you remember, like, when you first joined it?
Yeah, I remember it very, very well because my friend Matt sort of sat me down at a computer and said, "There's this thing called Facebook, dude. Everyone's on it. You know, you're not on it, but your brother's on it. That this person's on it. Like blah 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 blah. And sort of thing. Look how many people are on it. I remember him scrolling down and saying, look, and I was like, oh well, best join it then, because for me, social networking before that was MSN Messenger.
Yes,
that was literally it.
Yes,
and I think I had contact with like 9 people on there, like just all my school friends basically.
Yeah,
and my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife. But that was literally it, so it was like that was the kind of the only form of like internet communication that we had, and we didn't have phones yet that were capable of doing any kind of social networking. Yeah. So no, it was all very new.
I remember it like the most important thing was I in someone's top 8 friends on MySpace. I didn't have Friendster or anything like that, but like MySpace, I was constantly checking to see if someone had written on my wall or something like that. And then when people started talking about this kind of exclusive one where you have to have you can join a network of people from Leeds University, you find out who's on your course, and it was just like a really new and fresh way about getting to know people without like the awkwardness of like screwing up someone's first impression of you. Like you get to introduce yourself via your profile rather than anything else. But like seeing where it like the humble beginnings of it in this film and just what it's become today, with everybody giving their political opinion or like memes of minions, it's quite disheartening to see how far it's fallen, I find.
Yeah, that's it. It was so promising, and now it's just got this kind of veil of like sort of the word like they sort of say like did you actually hear that, or did you just read that on Facebook, when it comes to conspiracy theories and political conspiracies and things like that. So it's kind of like seen as a tool of the nut jobs now, isn't it, in a lot of ways, or just slightly passé, because now you've got Instagram and Twitter, which have kind of, I'd say Instagram has become the sort of more in vogue social platform right as we speak.
It was seen as the platform of the rebel. It was like something that was new and fresh and exciting, but now it seems like it's the platform of the conformist, and it seems like it's big business all invests in Facebook, and you seem like you're not one of the cool kids if you're on it now. It seems it's weird.
It's seen for kind of like, there's something that your mum and your dad use, rather than like something that, you should
your
really
crazy
be using.
Uncle.
Theories, it's a bit geriatric in a lot of ways, isn't it? Which is quite funny. But
I also see it as like a bit of a commentary on the film itself, like the current state of Facebook. It seems to be like where fragility hides now. People are very, I don't know, self-conscious on there, and it seems like it's kind of become what Mark originally was. He was a very fragile white young man who's spurned by an attractive woman, thinks that he's unlovable because of how smart he is and because society doesn't want him, and therefore creates this thing as a bit of a revenge thing. And it just seems to be, I don't know, what the internet has kind of become in the last 10 years.
It's like, people's first instincts were correct, in the way that, they were seeing that was its primary use. It had this kind of veil of coolness and sort of, it was very so in vogue and everything. But now it's like, it's so totally deglamorized, really, isn't it? Because I suppose when anything becomes mundane and it becomes just such a, a tool that everyone uses daily, it just loses its kind of mystique, really. Like, when it first came out, it was this kind of thing that if you weren't on it, why weren't you on it? And it was kind of like, seen to be the cool
symbol,
thing.
Almost. The exclusivity is what brings Mark to do it, and like that's what fuels his ideas. Is like, yes, this could be fantastic. Even taking the Winklevoss's idea of Match.com for Harvard guys and bring it into this, like, everybody has their own finals club in a way, which was the brilliance of the idea in the first place, but now has just turned into something completely opposite. And Zuckerberg himself seems to be some kind of robotic evil alien who has no idea what society needs, when at the time he seems to be on the cutting edge and had a finger on the pulse. I mean, like the speech that Justin Timberlake's character Sean Parker just being like, what's better than $1 million, $1 billion, and like the whole Victoria's Secret speech about how keep on your idea until it makes you a fortune. I don't know. It sounded so optimistic 10 years ago, but now just seems to be very, I don't know, selfish and very seedy, and I don't know.
Well, that was kind of my takeaway from this movie. I think I've said this before, but it's like, I just felt that anything was possible after I watched this movie. It's like, if someone in a dorm room in a university can come up with this thing and it, change the world and just be so lucrative and effective. You mentioned that scene in the club where he's talking to Sean Parker, played by Justin Timberlake, brilliantly in this film, I think.
I was so surprised by how good he was. Yeah.
Same here, like such a great performance and, just perfect for that role as well, sort of smarmy, hateable, but incredibly charismatic at the same time.
Yeah.
And one little sound point, I love the sound design in that scene, because I don't know about you, but whenever you watch a club scene in a movie and they're all talking at normal volume and the music's sort of playing out in the background, but you think that's not how you speak in clubs.
Yeah, exactly.
You shout at the top of your lungs.
That's the thing, yeah.
And that's what they're doing the whole way through, and the music sometimes almost drowns out the dialogue slightly. Yeah. But because there's so much lip reading going on and you're watching them emote so much, you know exactly what they're talking about, and it's easy to. But I just a little, just from a sort of a a cinematic point of view, I thought that was a brilliant scene.
This is our time. This time you're gonna hand him a business card that says, "I'm CEO, bitch."
No, from a design standpoint, when I watched it in the cinema for the first time, it felt like I was in a club. The music was pounding so much, and I was having to really focus on what these guys were talking about. And because of that, I felt like the message really got across to me. Like I wasn't being distracted by anything else, despite the pounding music that was in my head. I was listening to every word Sean Parker was saying. So in the way, I was kind of in a point of view of Mark. I was like, this guy is talking truth, and I need to listen to everything because he is gospel right now. It's
totally. You can't, I think it's that thing where like you're trying to read someone's lips, you are like immediately drawn in. It's the same with like Absolute, with people speak really quietly. It makes you kind of come in, but I guess in a way it's kind of the. It makes you kind of come in. So it's what a great scene, and obviously the content of that scene is him basically saying, there's so much money to be made here. You've just got to stick with it. Yeah. And your idea is your idea alone, and it's something that you need to be
nurse it.
Nurse it. Yeah. Don't get depressed. Don't throw it away. Mm-hmm. It's something that you can. You're going to make a lot of money, and it's kind of interesting coming from him because he is for people who don't know that Sean Parker is the person that founded Napster. Yeah. And basically has been, at that point, been sued for the best part of a decade. Not in the story. Sorry, in the story, is pretty much just kind of, I guess, still going through legal troubles with it. Yeah. And everything. So it's he is somewhat experienced in these things, and obviously Napster was, the epitome of cool for. The very early noughties and I guess late 90s. I don't know when it started.
Unless you're Metallica.
Yeah. Unless you're Metallica, yeah.
You don't like Napster.
In which case you take exception.
Yeah. But no, I found that just like Fincher's, the way he messes with normal, like conventional scenes, I respected it because I felt the movie respected me back. It was like, we're not going to just, like you say, a normal film would have done it where it's obvious that the actors were talking at a normal volume and they were just adding in the music in the background. But this one was just like, no, this really happened. This is like a documentary sort of thing. And I felt like another example of that would be the opening scene, where Mark and Erica are talking in the Thirsty Scholar pub.
With the White Stripes playing. And
exactly.
Brilliant.
But it was how immediately I had trouble keeping pace with the film. And it immediately disconnected me from Mark as well. Like, it was like an alienation device that I studied when I was doing theatre. It was like, no, you're watching a film. Don't connect to these people because they're not real. These are like the elites who went to Harvard. Pay attention to what they're saying. Pay attention to how they're acting, but don't empathize with them. Don't sympathize with them because this is not a nice character. This is someone who's going to screw over his friends, and this is someone who looks down on people who go to Boston University, like his girlfriend at the time. Yeah. And like I was on Erica's side, like from the off. Like I thought he was an asshole, similar to what she thought, although potentially like a misunderstood one. It was a weird kind of like first experience for it, but it kind of made me feel like, how much do we forgive asshole-like behavior when the asshole is successful?
Yeah, well, exactly, and luckily for in this movie, like she doesn't. Which is fantastic because I was kind of worried they might go that route, and not knowing the real story. Of course, this is based on true events, but I just thought, oh no, they're not going to do the thing where like she comes back to him once he becomes successful, and there's none of that, which is great. It just shows that she knows the real Mark, and she knows what he is, at his core. That she can't be fooled by the glitz and glamour of the new discovery. It's like no.
Yeah, no, and it definitely it successfully avoids tropes like that would make it seem like an ordinary film. Instead, it remains extraordinary by
Yeah.
just presenting this all to you before the opening titles, or the opening credits, I should say. And I just thought Aaron Sorkin's script was brilliant and is all the way through the film.
And it also continues the thread of, when he sort of sees her later in the pub and stuff, and she sort of, again, sort of gives him the cold shoulder.
I love that
It's
scene.
like all we're looking for really is acceptance.
Vindication and acceptance.
Yeah, exactly. That's all pretty much every human being is looking for, in very different ways, in the right way and the wrong way.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And obviously that's sort of confirmed in the scene at the end where he's trying to refresh his friend request for her, which is like the final scene, which is
That's
just
such a great
fantastic.
scene. Yeah.
Oh, I love that with
What
the
a way
Beatles
to end it
playing
on.
on the thing, and
Exactly.
great.
Just like you've seen Mark go from this really angry young man to being the most successful, youngest millionaire, billionaire on the planet, but he's still just wanting Erica to accept his friend request. And it's such a simple...
That's all it comes down to, really, at the end of the day, is
still
her
hasn't-
acceptance of him.
Yeah, he's like lost his best friend. He's still probably in a fight with the Winklevoss twins, but he's still just that the insecure kid who wants to be loved by a girl who said he didn't like him.
Yeah, that's it. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And it's just brilliant because, it does humanize him somewhat. Obviously he's, going about it all, the wrong way, and he's obviously really twisted in terms of his, his view of the world and stuff. But, it does totally humanize him at the end,
completely.
which I like. And then the Beatles, is it Baby You're a Rich Man playing on the soundtrack, which is just, again, a perfect music. The music in this film, the soundtrack and the music is just superb. All the needle drop stuff is just spot on. Like the White Stripes at the beginning, the Ball and Biscuit. It kind of, even at the time in 2010 when this movie came out, I remember thinking, oh shit, feeling old. That's period music now.
God,
that dates
yeah.
it to 2003. That's when that album came out. That's when that music, the White Stripes were huge. So that made me feel really odd. But also in seeing this movie, and when it first was released, I think like we've covered, said it really felt like my own as well. It felt like exactly my generation, your generation. That we lived through all that. That was all happening in the background when we were on MSN Messenger. He was creating Facebook. Just around the globe. And it was just so yeah. It really it felt very, very relevant, and I think that's one of the reasons that I love the movie so much, is because it felt like it was speaking directly to our generation. I think.
Definitely. No, I agree completely. I adore the soundtrack so much. It's probably, of the past 10 years, the soundtrack I've listened, because like I listen to soundtracks often, but like that's the soundtrack I probably listen to most. It both chills me out and motivates me at the same time. It's really weird. Like the opening...
You're a huge Trent Reznor fan, aren't you?
Yeah. Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, big fan. His work with Atticus Ross that he's been doing with David Fincher just since... Yeah, I think The Social Network was their first collaboration, and I feel like they've been working together since then, over the past 10 years, and everything they've done, from Girl with a Dragon Tattoo remake, Gone Girl, everything in between.
I think he might have done Seven as well, if I'm not mistaken, the opening titles.
There was a remixed version of Closer, which was on the opening titles. But even that, still, it fit the film perfectly, and I think Fincher and Trent go together so well. And I'm not too sure if he's going to be doing the soundtrack to his newest one with Gary Oldman, Mank, that's on Netflix.
Oh, I'm really looking about Mankiewicz. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
Looking forward to it too. Yeah, the soundtrack, just like the opening title where Mark's going through the Harvard campus, I just feel is absolutely just beautiful and brilliant, even though it's just one guy going home.
All it is a guy, like walking home from the pub just tipsy, like, from the pub to his halls. And every time I see it, I'm always like, why is that scene so brilliant? There's just something magical about it. And I think it's even, the first time I watched the film, I really loved it. But now, obviously, in context, we know that this is kind of where he's formulating, probably the ideas in his head to make this, thing. It's like, it's the sort of the Frankenstein, the sort of Dr. Frankenstein moment, of like having the brilliant idea.
You feel tension building, and you feel like there's something growing maybe in the mind of Mark on the way home. Like he's seething he's going over it like you do after you've had a night out. You're walking home, you're going over the events in your mind, and that's all kind of just shown to you just by the music over the top of it. It's brilliant. I love it.
And I think we, like you said, we've all had that lovely feeling of when you sort of walk out, from a warm, like humid, like pub environment, and you walk out into the sort of the cold autumn air, and you feel refreshed by it, but you're also pissed.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you've got this like alcohol on your side as well. You've got a bit more of a spring in your step, and everything. Yeah, so I guess it kind of sums up that feeling for me, which I'm rather fond of.
But then the soundtrack just, like, going from track 1 to track 2, like the next piece of music is just fantastically motivating for me. It's where Mark gets to work on Face Smash, and he's blogging at the same time, but then it also shows like the successful Harvard people in their finals club inviting all the hot girls around.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, just the idea, the motivation behind Mark at that time to try and get into a position of power his own way, just still, well, for 10 years from 2010 till now, has always been like something that's like inspires me. And I even had a quote from the film on my phone background, the one where it says, "We need to expand," where Mark sees Erica and just like says, "No, we need to grow bigger, because damn it, if this girl is going to think I'm not successful." It just made me feel like, damn, yeah, this is what I need. This is the drive I need. And yeah, it's been a great motivational help.
It's really weird, isn't it? Because like everything that's happening in the movie is pretty much like tragic, or kind of like the beginning of like the downfall of Zuckerberg and all this kind of stuff, as we know now. But at the time, as I said, as you say as well, it felt really motivational to me. Yeah, like the whole thing. It felt like, and I guess that's the sort of magic of the film, isn't it? That well, I guess that's what David Fincher's doing as a director. He's sort of directing your, or like misdirecting your attention, isn't he? Because kind of knowing your rational mind that this is all happening for the wrong reasons, and and some of it's quite misogynist, especially the beginning of him sort of like rating girls and all that stuff, but the music tells you otherwise. I think that's the thing. It kind of like the soundtrack and the sort of the motivation of the characters and the sort of inertia. It's all about the inertia of what's happening. Feels like we've talked before about David Fincher's movies feeling like a train that you've just got to grab onto because it's leaving with or without you. And either you go along for the ride or you don't, and that's kind of really what it feels like, and you get swept up in it a little bit. But then especially with everything that's come to light over the last decade, about Facebook and its downside, shall we say, in its running and its its privacy and all that kind of stuff. It's still early days, but the movie makes it feel like an incredibly positive thing that's happening.
No, yeah, I agree. Another scene that I really respect the hell out of is the that's also got like a really great soundtrack, I believe, is the riverboat scene.
With the quote unquote Alton Towers music.
Yeah, the whole of the Mountain King. Yeah, I feel like that is such a fantastic epitome of the Winklevosses. Like, they're trying their hardest and they're still coming in second place. It's just so much passion has gone into it. So much the brilliant cinematography, brilliant direction, brilliant soundtrack, brilliant sound design, and I don't know. It just stood out to me as like that's probably my favorite scene when I first watched it. I was like, that scene sticks out and sticks in my mind. And
it's really cool with the sort of tilt shift photography on the boats, like going down. Is it like the Oxford boat race or the Cambridge boat race?
Yeah, I think it's one like that. Against
it's a great. I really, like you say, I admire those scenes where it's introducing you to characters, and everything that's happening is just like completely. You can see that race, and then you can see that they came in second, and you kind of get the tragedy of these characters is that they really are always second. Nothing's coming. Settle. Yeah. Nothing's going right.
Nothing's
for them.
going
right. They will settle only for first place, but it ain't happening for them. They need an ace in the hole, and obviously that's when we get the first glimpse of the what's the actor's name who plays the Winklevi?
Armie Hammer.
Yeah, Armie Hammer as both Winklevoss twins in this really amazing effect.
It's done really well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a body double, isn't it? It's not just a split screen.
I believe Josh Pence was the stand-in for one of them, and then they just digitally put Armie Hammer's face on top of Josh Pence's body.
Right.
But even though Josh Pence is actually in the film as himself, as well, which I didn't realize until one of the most recent viewings. That I was
who does he play?
So do you know when they get they get some action in the bathroom stalls and they have to wait outside, and a guy comes up in a beanie saying like, "Oh, can I go in?" Like, "Oh, sorry, some girls are getting dressed in that," and they go, "Oh, right, nice one." That's him. That's Josh Pence.
Ah, I see. So that's his like he gets to show his face.
Cameo.
Basically, yeah, a little
He's
cameo.
able to get a cameo in, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well, it's good to know, yeah, because I mean, his performance, well, even it was digitally enhanced by Army Hammer, it's still a good performance.
Yeah.
And I guess that gave them much more freedom of movement because if you're trying to do split screen and stuff, you're gonna have to do everything in two takes and do like different performances and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I guess it obviously with that, even with identical twins, they do have very different movements, of course, and their own
That's what I
body
loved about
language
it.
and all that kind of stuff. So it gives them a unique personality each.
No, definitely. Sorry to interrupt you. I loved the fact that I could tell which was which. And like usually with identical twins, you always want like them to be confusing. But the fact is that I felt like Armie Hammer portrayed them so differently. Like I think Tyler is the one who doesn't want to sue Mark, and Cameron is the one who does. But like his mannerisms were so wildly different. Even when they were playing the same person, I felt like that was such a fantastic performance, and I didn't realize at all that it was one actor. When I first watched it, when I saw the credits roll and it was like Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss, both Armie Hammer, I was just, what? What are you talking about? That's no way it could be the same person. Yeah.
Armie also has one of the best lines, which is...
I want to hire the Sopranos to beat the shit out of him with a hammer.
We don't even have to do that. That's right. We can do that ourselves. I'm 6'5", 220, and there's two of me.
That's a great, great line.
But no, I respect Fincher's dedication to kind of push boundaries with CGI a lot. Even though like he doesn't do it a lot. So like obviously he does it like more in Benjamin Button, say, than he does in this. But still, like there's a scene that I always remember where like after Eduardo's been screwed out of his money, there's a house party where Justin Timberlake's character Sean Parker is like attending with some like underage kids. But like it starts outside and like moves into the house through like a window, and just that shot just kind of blew me away. I was just like more into just like, oh my god, how did he do that, more than like, oh god, Sean's at a house party. I was more like overawed by that.
Is that the kind of shot where it comes up to the it's winter, so the window is all sort of like done with humidity on it and the condensation, and it goes through the glass kind of thing. Like it's that's a great shot. I mean, I never noticed that, but I sort of sometimes think that the best camera tricks are invisible because you're not really meant to see them.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of examples of that, like things that in movies where, sometimes if I'm, half watching a film, I'll kind of notice them more because I'm maybe less involved in it. And obviously you've probably seen Social Network,
So
maybe even more than I have. Yeah. So you're bound to notice it. But yeah, have you ever seen The Naked Gun? The original Naked Gun?
Yeah. You showed it me.
Is it? All right. Yeah. Sorry. Before the event.
Yeah.
But there's a scene that makes me laugh so much now where he meets Ed, the the gadget man, the sort of Q, of a police squad, and they go from one room to another. And Leslie Nielsen, instead of walking through the door, he walks around the set. He walks out like the camera track.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And the other two guys opened the door and walked through it, and it took me, the 50th viewing to notice it. And I guess maybe that's an example of how I was just probably still laughing so much from the last joke I didn't even have time to catch up.
Right, yeah.
But now it makes me laugh so much.
It's the definition of breaking the fourth wall, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Literally breaking the wall. Yeah, fantastic.
But anyway, Social Network.
Yeah. Sorry.
Back on track, you. Got to whip into shape. One thing that I know is probably an actor's nightmare is working with Fincher in one way, because he's such a perfectionist. Like, I think the opening shot or the opening scene like took around 99 takes to do. Like they really went hard on it.
For me and Rooney, it lent this great sense of, at its most base level, having to speak at a high volume, but at a more psychological level of feeling like you're actually in this bar and feeling like you're actually kind of yelling at this girl who's breaking up with you, and it's confusing, and you're hearing other people talk, and that's confusing too. And all that stuff kind of adds to the full experience of it. And we did it 99 times. We didn't do it 100 times for some reason. He didn't want to do it one more time just to hit 100. But yeah, I loved it. Every time I've done a movie, I'm like, how are we only doing 6 takes of this? There's
when I was doing some research on this, I saw some behind the scenes footage, and I just respect Fincher so much for that scene where Eduardo gets told that his stock has been diminished and devalued, and him put like the camera looking at the Facebook mat, panning up and showing Eduardo still like storming over to Mark and shouting at him, breaking his laptop. And
just the low angle, so it makes him look really tall, and it's like the camera's on the ground.
Like, oh god, he's gonna screw some shit up. But like, just that shot is so powerful. And when I saw the behind the scenes of just how meticulous Fincher wanted that to be, and how many different laptops he had like as props to be destroyed, because he just wanted that to be the case. And like Jesse Eisenberg is asking like, am I concerned about the laptop? Or like Fincher's like, no, this is the culmination of everything. You need to be focused right now. And just the dedication that Fincher has to making sure his actors get it right. And I don't know, it's slightly Kubrick-esque, where it's almost like meticulous to a fault. And like sometimes people don't want to work with him because of how strict he is.
How demanding he is, It does sound like he's going for that. But the thing is with that, people say, oh, well, 65 takes is too much of anything. But at the end of the day, that scene is perfect.
Yeah.
It really is, the way it all comes out. I guess if you can smash a laptop in so many different ways, and that scene, it could make Eduardo look like a weakling. It could make him look like a guy just such a frivolous action just to break someone's laptop. It's not that hard to do.
Yeah.
But, when I think from what you just said, and then when I would think of rewatching the scene, my mind, it is all powerful, isn't it? Like, you really are scared of him in that scene. He looks like he really could fuck him up, and it's there's a lot of danger there, and it's really well done.
Not only that, but Mark is so cowering in the face of it. He has done something completely selfish and cowardly that he just like shrinks in on himself, and Eduardo stands tall over him, because obviously this is from Eduardo's point of view because it's his book and his memoir, but still you feel for him. You really want Eduardo to get justice, but he's not going to, and it makes Mark seem to be such a conniving little weasel, just sitting there. And
because he's been taking all of like Sean Parker's shit for like the best part of the movie and stuff, and and then he's always been the kind of the bit of a bit wet, really,
the punching bag.
The punch bag, really, for everyone. And then in that scene, you know he's not going to take this anymore, and this is the start of a new Eduardo. He's not going to be the same from now on.
Especially
lawyer
when
up, asshole.
Because I'm coming for everything. Oh, it's so well said. But like when you make Sean Parker flinch as well. And it's it's such a cathartic moment, just being like, that is you, even though like I know it's all biased and stuff, but in terms of just movie language, it was so cathartic to watch and so vindicating just to know that Eduardo was in the right, and he has been treated like shit, and he is going to get rewarded eventually.
I heard an actor say once, on the multiple takes thing, that it's like you do 20 takes and it's good, then you do 30 through 40 through 50 and you're tired and it's rubbish, and then 60, 70, 80 is good again. And when you get to that that kind of thing, that's one way of working, where it's like you kind of plateau. You get through being, and also I think a lot of actors say it's kind of like, I've heard a lot of actors say that it's kind of like when you first do it, it so well that it is done mechanically, and then you get bored of it, and then like I said, you kind of come out the other side and it becomes just this natural thing that's like just part of you. And so, I guess certain directors, I can't imagine me being that kind of director if I was to make any more films. I can't, because I mean, at the end of the day, it's like David Fincher's got money to burn, I guess, and he's certainly got Final Cut and stuff like that, but if you're making independent films, you're not going to be, taking like, 60, 70 takes to do something, who's got money for that? But everyone's different. And I think that all that matters is the end result. At the end of the day, is what you see,
I completely agree. I feel like now that Fincher seems to have this reputation as such a dedicated director, it's going to bring dedicated actors to him. Like only the best are going to want to work with him because they're dedicated enough to try and get the most perfect take as well. Yeah, like exactly. This is why Eisenberg got an Oscar nomination for his performance, and this is why like people respected Justin Timberlake as an actor because of this film. He brought his standing up like 2, 3, 4 tiers just by appearing in this for a Fincher film, and just like legitimized him, and people started casting him more in leading man roles.
Well, I think that he's just absolutely perfect for the part. He wouldn't have been perfect for the Eduardo part.
No.
you wouldn't have felt maybe so much empathy for him.
No,
you know,
he was
because
good
he's a bit
because-
smug looking, you know. He's got
Exactly,
like a smug
yeah.
pop star about him, but
It's-
that's what he is. You know,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, he is a celebrity in that world, and so he's just perfect for the part. I mean, I'm a Justin Timberlake fan anyway, so I was always kind of like gonna like him. But you know, he's really great in this film, and doesn't look out of place at all. You don't spend your time, you know, going, that's Justin Timberlake. You know, like in other movies
Yeah.
when you have a bit like in Dunkirk, I'm sad to say, when Harry Styles was in it.
turns up, yeah.
For me, it just, his part wasn't good enough for me not to be like, oh, it's Harry Styles again.
I
Look at him all
agree.
dressed up.
Yeah, if we're going to be talking about singers in their debut features, then yeah, I completely agree. Yeah,
Yeah, he's not terrible. He just didn't have enough to do to sort of distract you from the fact that he was Harry Styles.
exactly. Make him into a character like Sean Parker. Give him something to do. Give him something like a smug little shit like he is to like feed
Yeah.
off the audience's expectations of someone kind of privileged coming into a role like that. And
Yeah.
seemingly being just like given the role because of his stature and his fame. But then I feel like Timberlake wowed a lot of people by just like, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. I understand why he got that role then.
Yeah, no, it's great casting.
Yeah.
And there's another scene towards the end that I really, really like. And it's the scene just before, you know, they sort of wrap it up. You know, they have the scene that they're in the sort of the conference room at the end, and he's talking to his lawyer, you know, and she says to him,
You're not an asshole, Mark. You're just trying so hard to be.
and that's another great summary. And that leads straight on to the refreshing the girlfriend, the ex-girlfriend's, you know, friend request and everything. But yeah, it's just such a nice sort of, you know, just wraps everything up in a nice bow at the end, really, doesn't it?
It's kind of ironic now because I would feel like if anyone were to talk about Zuckerberg now, it's kind of the opposite. You're not a good guy, Mark. You're just trying to be a lot.
Yeah,
You're trying.
yeah.
You are an asshole, and you're trying to be a good guy. And the
I think
veil
that's
is
another
not
thing.
working.
That's another thing. Films are fantasy, and you know, I think that you know, even with biopics like this, you've got to think to yourself, 95% of this is bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, it's not. You know, it's directing your. You know, it is totally directing your emotion, and it's probably not in any way. These characters aren't as admirable as they appear to be, or as sinister, or anything. It's probably not as exciting as this. But at the end of the day, it's like the legend of what happened, isn't it? Like print the legend.
Exactly. Yeah. Much more entertaining if you print the legend. So I think that's everything I wanted to speak about with this film. But thank you very much for letting me talk about it, Max. I think it's one of the most important films of our last 10 years, I'd say.
I agree. No, it's a wonderful film, and I'm just glad you feel the same about it, really, because I was always kind of super obsessed with it, and people couldn't really understand why. So I
Yeah.
feel like I've found a kindred spirit.
Oh, good. If anyone listening hasn't watched it, I wholeheartedly endorse it and recommend you do so. But if you have seen it, let us know what you thought about the film in the comments below. And if you agree or disagree with our opinions, let us know as well. If you're a fan of us, let us know by liking this video and subscribing to our channel, Matt and Mike Pull Focus. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter by searching for the name Matt and Mike Pull Focus as well. Say goodbye, Matt.
Bye, Matt.
And that's goodbye from me. Farewell.